Welcome to the first ever episode of the Freaky Fauna Files podcast. We're your hosts, the chicken
and the egg,
where you'll never know which one comes first.
So hey, I'm the egg. This week I'll be kicking off our discussion in some of the freaky fauna in Antarctica. We're going to dive into the biology, ecology, and history of 3 ocean-dwelling animals. We're going to start with the orca, leopard seal, and then end with the colossal squid. We're going to enter into the danger zone. Where we meet a modern dinosaur and a not-so-friendly Tilikum, the infamous orca that was featured on the documentary Blackfish.
Each week, we'll be posting images of all of the critters and references we included on this week's episode on our socials. You can find us on most podcast streaming services and on Instagram at Freaky Fauna Files.
All right, let's get started. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the orca. So it is in the group Delphinidae, and the scientific name is Orcinus orca. So technically, guys, a orca is a dolphin because it belongs in the Delphinidae family. So, that can be your holiday fact for, it can be your fun fact for holiday parties.
I guess that it's not a fish?
Yeah, saying that orca is technically a dolphin. Did you know that? Nudge, nudge.
I guess I should.
You will now. So, where are orcas found? Their habitats. They are mostly found in colder waters like Antarctica, Norway, and Alaska, but they're also found in tropical and subtropical waters.
So basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
I just wanted to be fancy.
Love that.
Thank you. So there's about 50,000 orcas globally, and they live up to pods. They live in little pods of about 20 orcas each. The average lifespan is 30 to 60 years, but females specifically can live 50. They typically live 50 years, and they can get up to 90. Can you imagine an orca older than your grandma?
That's insane.
That is insane.
What do they even do all
What do you
that
do
time?
at 90 years old?
They just swim around fucking shit up.
I guess
that's what they do.
They stop having calves at 25. So what do you do for 60 years of your life?
That's a long retirement. They're empty nesters for quite some time.
So they can get up to 11 tons, which for them Americans, that's about 3 pickup trucks. No.
Americans.
I'm sorry. For us Americans, an average pickup truck is 3 tons. So that's what? 3, 6, 9. That's about 4 pickup trucks.
Yeah.
An orca.
Yeah.
They can swim up to 30 miles per hour.
That's fast.
That is pretty fast.
Yeah.
Too fast for a neighborhood.
Yeah, that is too fast. That's faster than a school zone. Yeah.
They communicate through clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls. I think when I listened to it, it was pretty much what I imagined, a mixture of a whale and a dolphin.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think of, yeah.
So the Pacific Northwest species pretty much eat salmon, while Arctic orcas eat marine mammals as well, such as seals, penguins, and pinnipeds, as well as squids. The females typically give birth at the age of 12 to 14 years.
Young.
Yeah, but their gestation period is almost twice ours. It's 15 to 18 months that they're pregnant.
So that's pretty long.
That is pretty long.
Yeah, elephants are 22 months?
I have no idea. I would imagine the larger, the more it takes to cook in there.
That would make sense, yeah.
Let's see. So females give birth to an average of 5 calves over a 25-year period. So yeah, I guess they just stop having kids. Wait, math?
Yes, wait.
5 calves over 25 years and you start at 12. Okay, so they stop having kids around 35-ish?
Yeah,
30,
that would make
35?
sense. Yeah,
That's
okay.
still
so
a long time till 90.
Yeah, but I'm sure if you are trying to create an animal that big, it takes a lot of energy and you can't do it often. I wonder what, if that's the max.
Max what?
Remember to mute your devices.
The movie has started.
Oh, shit, I used your name.
You just put, yeah. You can just bleep it out. All right, and the last thing I want to talk to you about my orcas before we enter the danger zone is the mythology. So, orcas are typically a symbol of family, romance, longevity, harmony, travel, community, and protection. It's said that they protect those who travel far away from home and can lead you back if you're lost.
That's ironic. Considering what's happening right now with the orcas and the boats.
Oh, sad. Orcas will also often stay their entire lives with the same pod and raise each calf with tender, loving care.
Cute. Not a lot of animals in the wild actually care for their animals. I think it's mostly mammals that are the ones to do it.
I agree. I mean, a lot of them actually just die. Childbirth, die.
Yeah. I mean, there are some, I think, what is it, polar bears, I think, that, will eat their cubs more often than not.
No,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially because food is so scarce.
Jesus.
All right, so that's about all that we're going to cover for the orca right now. So I'll go ahead and start talking about our second animal, the leopard seal. Okay, so the leopard seal, its scientific name is Hydrogra leptonix. Again, hang in there with us as we butcher through these Latin names. We will try to look up pronunciations. Anyways, this was first described by the French zoologist Henri Marie Ducrotty de Blainville, in 1820.
How many names do you need?
I know, yeah, I don't know. But apparently that's pretty common across seas, is to have numerous middle names, or just numerous names in general. But the name breakdown actually translates to a slender-clawed water worker, which totally makes sense for the leopard seals. Yeah.
Water worker?
Water worker. They are workers of the water.
Interesting.
And it's actually the only species belonging to the Hydrogra genus. So, yeah. So that's a little bit cool fact about the leopard seal.
Is that your fun party fact?
You know what? Maybe it is. I feel like I have another one later on with the leopard seals. Or I'll save it for the colossal squid. So for some basic biology to cover the leopard seal, like I mentioned, they are mammals. They are marine mammals, similar to the orcas. So that means that they are warm-blooded, they breathe air, they give birth to live young, they nurse, and that they have fur. A lot of people, when you look at a leopard seal, they look really slick, and it doesn't look like they have any fur, but when you're up close, they actually have some fur, and that actually helps. That's why they're mammals. For their lifespan, they live to about 25 years. They can go up to about 780 pounds, about 13 feet long, which for the pickup truck, and keep the pickup trucks going.
Thank you.
That's about 1.5 pickup trucks.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Why did I think they were like the size of max a cow?
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone thinks of Harper seals or the smaller seal
maybe
species.
that's what I'm thinking
They're not thinking about leopard seals. But
That's
leopard
terrifying.
seals are up there with elephant seals, and elephant seals are also massive. Just like the orcas too, the females are larger, longer, have longer lifespans, and they are overall heavier than males. There are a lot more of these guys worldwide. There are about 222,000 to 440,000 leopard seals that you can find worldwide, even though a lot of them are in the colder waters. The family that they are in are called pinnipeds. This refers to specifically marine mammals that have front and rear flippers. So yes, instead of legs, they have flippers. In fact, they kind of evolved to go back to having flippers after, Tiktaalik came up onto land, did all that good stuff.
What do you call it?
Isn't Tiktaalik the
Tiktaalik?
Oh.
Tiktaalik.
That is exposing where we're from, I think. Yeah, anyways, we went back to water and now they have flippers. It goes on to say that ancestors lived on lands and were likely weasels, otters, and mink/or bear-like that eventually, like I said, adapted to living back in a marine environment.
Wait, so there was a land to water?
Yeah, they went back.
Back to water?
Oh, how do you think? Yeah, all marine mammals. There were fish, then there was the stupid guy who made us come onto land, and then eventually they were like, nah, gravity's too much, I'm going to go back to the water. And then now we have dolphins and marine mammals, orcas, all that weird stuff. So yeah, they went back. So for these leopard seals, they also have no external ear flaps. They only have an internal ear canal with that small circular opening. This is one feature that you can actually use to differentiate leopard seals from other type of seals, like the New Zealand sea lions or the New Zealand fur seals. So just if it has an ear, it's not a leopard seal. If it has the little hole, you should probably run away. So their only predators, since I mentioned how big they are actually whales, so like sperm whales and stuff, and large sharks, which makes sense. Their prey, on the other hand, is just about everything. So this can vary from krill, octopuses, squid, penguins, other seabirds, and basically whatever they can find. It is interesting to note that their diet will change depending on the season. So in the summer, they'll be primarily eating fish and krill. And then in the winter, as the ice starts forming again, they'll start going after other seals and penguins.
Sad.
Yeah. Very sad. And I have a little fact coming up about the penguins. But anyways, despite all of what they eat, they really mainly eat krill, which is kind of ironic because they are quite large creatures and they can sustain themselves off of one of the smallest invertebrates, in the ocean. They are one of the only other species known to actively hunt other seals. So they mainly are solitary critters. They're not social like the orcas. You're not going to see a whole bunch of them around, and if you are, it's typically for one particular reason or a couple particular reasons, which I'll talk about. They really do like penguins, though. They'll flop up onto land. And actually, there was a study back in 2009 that I found that at one specific colony, about 12 to 16% of the Gentoo penguins were eaten by leopard seals. That's a healthy portion to die from leopard seals. Yes, that is what, a quarter, nearly, I guess a fifth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they really do like their penguins. The way that they feed, I mentioned that they're carnivora, so they have sharp canines and incisors to grab the large prey. They don't have any way to slash or rip at their prey, so instead what they'll do is they'll thrash and shake to break the prey down. They'll lift their prey over their head out of the water in this arc formation.
I've seen that.
And just
launch.
And just either launch it or whack it on the ocean surface until eventually it just tears open. It's just wham, wham, and then boom, it's done. So very violent, not nice at all. They're a little fun fact about their teeth too is that their molars, they look cool. So they are trident shaped. So they literally look like Poseidon's trident, and they act like a sieve to filter out all of the water whenever they're eating krill. Since krill is so small, they essentially have to take big gulps of water, like certain whales, and filter it out. And so the molars help doing that, which is cool. They are ambush killers that will wait for their prey to come to them, or they will use their incredible agility in the water to help them. I mentioned earlier that they're solitary, so they are typically solo hunters, but have occasionally been seen working together. And they believe that this is a case of kleptoparasitism, where essentially animals are stealing food that is caught by another individual. Mm-hmm. So you'll see this a lot where one will be grabbing it and the other one will be thrashing it, and at the end, they're not really working together. They are actually competing over that same piece of meat. So it's kind of working together, kind of not working together. It's a little mix. They are the agile swimmers. I just said that. But they're less agile on land, naturally. I mean, they're really awkward. They don't have legs or anything. They have flippers. Despite that, they spend 31% of their time on land. Just flopping around.
Just flopping.
Just going after the penguins, I guess.
Well,
yeah.
Something's got to happen for 12 to 16% penguins.
Yeah, could you just imagine this? Like, how fast are they on land? That's something that I should.
I don't know. Have you seen penguins? Unless they're sliding on their bellies, they're
They're
going
pretty
anywhere.
slow. Yeah. I can't imagine moving that much weight over ice efficiently. Yeah, there's no way. I do have a vocal. I feel like we have to play the vocal of the leopard seal because...
Is this your reference to a modern dinosaur?
This is the reference to the modern dinosaur. Yeah, because just watching the video is horrifying. Listening to the video is even more horrifying. And we will be linking this video as well so that you guys can click on it and go see it yourself. But we're going to add a little clip for you right here.
Run. I'm all safe. Run.
Every bone in my body is telling me to run.
Ugh.
It sounds like what the Jurassic Park people tried to make the T-Rex sounds.
Well, you didn't like
sound
the
like
auto-tuned lion roar?
the blend. Did you hear that little purr or whatever it was?
Terrifying.
Oh my gosh! You can
I
see
think-
its teeth.
Jurassic Park would be a million times more horrifying if dinosaurs clicked and growled like that.
Oh yeah, like
The concept of clickers?
No, yeah. Who else used the concept of clickers recently? Wasn't it The Last of Us? Right? Don't they
Yes.
use the clickers in there?
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. So if you hear that, definitely back away and get out of the water. That would be my overall recommendation. All right. So that was the leopard seal. The last thing I wanted to talk about with the mythology. There wasn't much that I can find on them, but I do know that it is considered, and hang in there with me, taonga, or a treasure for the Maori people. And that was really all that I could find about the leopard seals in mythology. So
A treasure.
yeah, so very scary sounding big creatures that kill everything. Perfect. So moving forward, we're going to dive into the colossal squid or the Antarctic cranch squid.
Ranch.
Cranch. I think that's how you pronounce it, right?
Looks like it.
It's like ranch with a C. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so cranch. Like ketchup ranch. I actually do like
Ketchup with a C?
Ketchup with a C. So before we talk too much about the squid, I do want to go over some basic stuff between a typical squid and a typical octopus, just so that that image you have in your head is the proper one when I'm trying to create this horrifying monster in your head. So a typical squid, they'll have more of a streamlined body. They will have a clear internal shell, which is what's called a pen. A fun fact is actually you can take the pen out, dip it in its own ink, and write with it.
God.
Hashtag.
How would you like your spine to be used as a pen, dipped in your blood to
Well,
write?
why do they call it a pen? You know, it literally is shaped like a quill. A squid also has 2 tentacles with large hooks and or sucker rings, and they have 2 fins along the mantle.
Oh, so 2 tentacles and 8 arms?
Yes. Yeah, so the tentacles are going to be the long, dangly guys. They're going to be a lot longer than the other arms. Yes. And then for the typical octopus, these are going to be more round and bulbous. That won't have any internal shell, so these can fit into those little tiny crevices that you likely have seen. They have 8 arms with suckers. They'll never have hooks. They'll have no tentacles or fins either. So, squid, streamlined with hooks. Octopus, round with no hooks. So, that's a little bit of an intro to it before jumping in. Colossal squid, it is the largest and most elusive cephalopod. And it's the largest invertebrate on Earth with the largest eyes of any animal. So the eyes are about 25 centimeters in diameter, which is massive for an eyeball. I mean, measure your eyeball. What is it, like?
Egg doesn't speak
4?
centimeters.
I I'm not going to translate that into inches.
I don't know what
all right,
25 centimeters would look
Let me
like.
ch- 25 centimeters, 2 inches. Is it no? Is it slow? All right, it's about 9 inches.
Damn!
About 10 inches. All right, so the eyes are about 10 inches in diameter. This includes whales. So they have eyes that are bigger than whales, which is insane. Mm-hmm. They also have the largest beak of any squid, if that's not horrifying. So on top of their hooked tentacles, they also have a beak that is made out of almost the same material as our fingernails. Yes, gotta love that keratin. So they're super hard, and you definitely do not want it to get your
Biting
hand.
you?
Yeah, you don't want your hand in that.
I guess the hooks and the beak are where all the whales get their scars from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jeez.
Actually, exactly. And that we'll talk about that too a little bit later. So it has the largest beak. It is deep water dwelling, so it lives around 3,000 feet or about 1,000 meters deep, which is why it's so elusive. I mean, it's hard enough for us to dive down to 200, 300 feet. We're getting down to, 10 times that. You can't.
It's crazy
it's
that
hard.
25 centimeter diameter eye is what it takes to survive down there in the deep waters. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
in the twilight zone, no sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Why even bother with a gigantic eyeball?
Well, I would feel like it would just be to pick up whatever
Any
chances of light. Yeah, any sort of
bioluminescent.
Yeah, any sort of bioluminescence that would be down there. That would be my thought. Well, and what's even weirder with it living so deep is that typically the deeper you go, the smaller the critters, right? Because of all the pressure and the demands, and it's hard to get the nutrients that you need to grow so big, except these guys, and as we'll see later on in our podcast and later episodes, there's a lot of exceptions to that we'll find. So they're deep water, very elusive, and the only way that we are able to really do any research on them is by catching juveniles that have been caught by deep sea trawlers or just caught in nets or anything like that in general. So it's pretty hard for us to find much information about them, which is kind of why they're so creepy to a lot of people. Their main and really only predator, once fully grown, is the sperm whale.
Yeah.
And you will see sperm whales a lot of the times with all sorts of scars, and that's actually how we first ended up, really discovering the existence of
what
them.
could
They're
have made those marks?
Yeah, they're like, what is making these massive?
That must be large.
That must be deadly. We also have that when they're juveniles, the southern elephant seal that I talked about or mentioned briefly, and other larger ocean predators will feed on juveniles. So I bet you money leopard seals and orcas will also feed off of them. Mm-hmm. I bet if they get their hands on it. I mean, we know orcas could squids, and I guess leopard seals also had squids in their diet, so that makes sense. So the colossal squid, it was actually first identified in 1925, and this is only because their arms were found in a sperm whale's stomach.
Oh, imagine that discovery.
Yeah, and these arms are thick. This is not like a typical
Pool noodle.
octopus. Yeah, it's not a pool noodle. It's not an octopus. It's not like a leg. It is, think like fire hose, and that's kind of where we're at.
Massive.
So that's the first time it was identified. Their diet, even though they are so big, consists of small and large fish, kind of like the Patagonian toothfish or the Chilean sea bass. They also will feed on other squids, which makes sense.
I feel like beggars can't be choosers at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, you're just going to go with whatever you can find.
Yeah.
And the toothfish stays at those depths as well, too.
How convenient.
Yeah, so that makes sense. The way that they kill these their victims is they are ambush predators, similar to the leopard seal, and their tentacles, as we mentioned, are covered in suckers, and these suckers are equipped with 2 rows of hooks. Okay, so think spiky club at the end of these tentacles. They have 25 rotating hooks, like I said, found in 2 rows. And they're used for both offense and defense. And that's where we see the scars on the sperm whales. Is these hooks, they'll actually wrap around them and, try not to get eaten themselves. And in the
gnarly scars.
Yeah, in the meantime, they're brutalizing each other. For their mating, since there have not been many adults captured, in fact, we'll talk about how many were captured, we don't know much about their mating at all. We do know that it reproduces via internal fertilization, but that's just similar to most squids. And they specifically think that it is very similar to the reproduction of a related species called Tuthowinia pellucida, which is super cute. You have to look it up. Like, oh my, it's just a clear, bulbous little guy.
How big is that?
It's small. It's small. Which is crazy that something this small has almost the same reproductive, thought to be the same reproductive as the biggest. Yeah, it's so cute. Size-wise, the colossal squid can get up to 60 feet long.
60 feet?
60 feet long, yeah. That, I don't even know how many pickup trucks.
I will look it up for you.
How many pickup trucks are 60 feet? But anyways, that's 18 meters long. Has a mantle length, and mantle is basically the main portion of its body from, the tip down to its beak, or when the tentacles start. The mantle is not including the arms and the tentacles. So the mantle length is 6 to 12 feet.
So 60 feet is 4 to 5 pickup trucks.
All right, 4 to 5 pickup trucks.
Wild.
That is wild. We have that they weigh about 1,100 pounds or 500 kilograms, which is
massive. Again.
Huge. The largest individuals, I feel like we'll see this a lot throughout our podcast.
Yeah, orcas, females.
Leopard seals, females. Yeah, and now the colossal squid, the largest individuals are females. Whoop! And I do want to point out here that these are big sizes, and when people think of a huge squid, the first thing they think of is the giant squid, and the giant squid and the colossal squid are different species.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, right? I feel like...
I thought it was interchangeable.
I also thought it was interchangeable until, honestly, digging into this, and I was like, oh, they are different. It is significantly bigger than the giant squid, which I think is important to note. That could be your fun fact, actually. Did you know that there is a colossal and giant squid?
They're like, wow, I did
They're like,
not.
wow.
Tell me more.
Wow.
And now you can.
The colossal squid also has a gigantic ink sac, which is horrifying because we have no idea what it is used for.
What?
It just...
I would assume it's used for the same reason that any other squid or octopus uses it.
A smoke screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it lives in the dark. So, it's unlikely to be a smokescreen. They're like, we don't know what it is for.
It's just too cool to get rid of.
Yeah.
From an evolutionary
maybe it's a vestigial trait of theirs, right? Maybe it needs to go. That covers all of the biology, really, that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to dive into the mythology real quick before we transition into our danger zone. Okay. All right. So I'm sure you guys automatically know what I'm going to be talking about in regards to mythology and the colossal squid, and that is going to be the kraken.
Yes.
I know. It's such a badass mythological creature.
Kraken.
The kraken. Just the name of it is cool. So it's... Whenever I started doing research into this, I started going down a little bit of a rabbit hole because they couldn't really determine where the myth started. Some were saying Greek, some were saying Norwegian. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about all of it. Let's see. One thing I do want to note, too, prior to getting into that, is that a lot of the times when you look up the kraken and all of the shipwrecks associated with it, a lot of people automatically jump to the thought that it's the giant squid that is doing this, and not the colossal squid. No one really knows for sure which one it's alluding to. I personally think it's going to be the colossal squid because
I
of
think it
those
would have
scary
to
fucking
be-
hooks.
And just due to the size of the
Yeah.
ships.
Yeah.
You're saying one's 40 foot, one's 60 foot. That's a
Yeah.
pretty bad difference.
Yeah, and I feel like one just wouldn't have the strength and weight behind it to be able to do what some of these stories are talking about. So I think the Kraken has largely been associated with the giant squid only because we didn't really know.
You mean the colossal squid?
No, I'm saying it's been associated with the giant squid.
Been.
Yeah, past tense, or just like is currently, because not many people know the colossal squid is different. But I'm going to stand by that it's a colossal squid. So the monster that you think of with the Kraken, it is based from the 12th century Norwegian myth. The people who think that it comes from the Greek one, the Greek mythology Kraken, it's more octopus-like, and it's referred to as Scylla.
I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Odyssey.
Yes, I was about to say, yeah. So if anybody has read through Homer's Odyssey, you'll probably have ran into Scylla. I love their depiction of it, though. Their depiction of Scylla is that it's a lazy sea monster sleeping at the seafloor, just not interested in humans. The only reason why sailors were ever affected is because they, quote-unquote, didn't get out of the way quick enough. Yeah. Similar to, actually, the colossal in the myth, the Scylla, she'll lure them in, eat them, digest them, will spew out its waste, causing more fish to come in so that it has its next meal already prepped. Yeah. So it uses its throw up of previous fish as chum to have more fish come in so that it's able to keep feeding. So it's different, but kind of similar to the ambush predation that you see in the colossal. So all in all, that is everything about the colossal squid. There's a lot more information I could have put in here, but to save some time and to kind of stir your interest and leave some stuff for you guys to find out yourself, we're just going to kind of end that there. It's the danger zone!
Welcome to the danger zone!
All right, guys. So the danger zone is the part of our episode where we talk about how the animals that we have talked about in this podcast, how they have come into contact with humans, how they have killed humans, hurt humans, all sorts of stuff. So to start, we're going to talk about the colossal squid because there's really no recorded human attacks or deaths by the colossal squid, other than those dying in the shipwrecks. We did try to look up and see if we could find any documentation of a specific shipwreck going down. And in the 1930s, the Royal Norwegian Navy's 15,000-ton tanker, the Brunswick, was attacked 3 separate times by a colossal squid. Each account tells of a squid pursuing the tanker and striking it suddenly, tentacles wrapped around the hull and everything. Fortunately for the sailors, yet unfortunately for the squid, the steel of the ship proved either too slick or too hard for the tentacles to grapple and pierce the prey. Each squid that tried to land the Brunswick ended up perishing after sliding into the tanker's propeller.
Oh.
Which is very sad for the squid. R.I.P.
Man.
I almost would rather the Brunswick had gone down and it just be like an epic story, of the colossal squid. So that's about all it for the colossal squid's danger zone. They're too deep. If they come into contact with you, I will be shocked. If there's a writer out there who has seen one or caught one, please send it in because that would be awesome. Otherwise, we're going to start talking about the leopard seal. So the leopard seal has a few more offenses than the colossal squid. The first one that I could find was back in Ernst Shackleton's Antarctic expedition back in the early 1900s. Major Thomas Orderlies was chased across the ice by a sea leopard, and that's in quotes. Luckily, though, Thomas was saved by his other crew members who actually shot the seal to death. R.I.P. Seal. Just trying to get a meal.
So, how fast you really got to run to outrun a flopping leopard seal?
Let's look it up real quick. Yeah, so we tried to find how fast they move on land, and we were unable to do so. But we did find that, like, in the water, they can swim up to 37 to 40 miles per hour, which is fast as fuck. It is fast as fuck, boys. All right. So moving forward to 1985, we have Gareth Wood. He was a Scottish explorer. He was bitten by a seal and nearly dragged off the ice into the water. He managed to escape when companions kicked the seal repeatedly with their spiked snowshoes.
Ouch.
I know, ouchie.
Jeez.
I wasn't able to find if the seal lived or what, but I know Woods walked away with quite a torn up leg. So, the one and only human death that has been recorded is from July 22nd, 2003. So not a crazy long time ago. Like 20 years ago. Oh, I guess by the time we release it, it'll be, 21 years ago? Mm-hmm. But it was 28-year-old marine researcher Kirsty Brown. Yeah, I guess Kirsty. Kirsty Brown. She was a super qualified scientific diver, and as a diver myself, she knows her stuff. Yeah, if you're a scientific diver, you are not a new diver. You know what you're doing. And sure enough, she had years and years of experience around her belt. She was working on a particular project at the Rothera Research Station, which is part of a British Antarctic survey on the Antarctic Peninsula. Her project aimed to investigate the effects of iceberg disturbance on plant and animal communities inhabiting the nearshore Antarctic seabed. So she definitely knew the area, she knew the animals, she knew exactly what was going on. And unfortunately, all it takes is a few seconds. So while Kirsty was snorkeling near the station, no seals were spotted by anybody on the surface. Some people believe that actually Kirsty saw it herself, but didn't notify anybody. Before we knew it, before they knew it, the seal had dragged Kirsty Brown underwater to upwards of 60 meters or 200 feet.
Oh.
Yeah, quick. They don't know if the seal was playing around or if the seal had intended to harm her, but either way, she was dragged down. Rescuers quickly went out and recovered the body, and resuscitation efforts ensued for about an hour before she was officially pronounced dead due to drowning. So this has been the first and only ever human recorded death by the leopard seal. However, it is important to note that as human populations grow and as we spread across the world, and with the seal's natural environment shrinking, the danger towards humans has kind of put scientists on edge nowadays. So if you do see a leopard seal, in all seriousness, please walk away from it. If you hear that sound that we played earlier, run out of the water. If you hear a
dinosaur.
If you hear that dinosaur and you're like, I don't know about that, just get out of the water. Get away from the ice. Get away from the penguins. Whatever you need to do. Keep yourself safe with that. So that's all I have on the leopard seal. And we'll move over for the orca.
All right. So I have kind of two components to the orca. We actually have some stories of wild orcas killing humans, and we have captive orcas. Specifically, we'll look at SeaWorld, of course. You might know where I'm going.
Yep.
But we'll start with the wild orca. So in 1955, a group of Inuits, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, Inuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
That's the indigenous tribe to the Arctics. So an Inuit man was seen and cautioned against going over to the frozen ice of Grand Sooty Bay, which is a geological structure called the Polynya. And a Polynya is an enclosed pool of melted ice, which is completely surrounded. So pretty much a little lake, a landlocked lake. So he was cautioned against it, but because the ice was thin, lo and behold, the man slipped and fell through, and he was taken and eaten by an orca. In retaliation and anger, there's not much they could do to retrieve the body, but the Inuit tribe killed 3 orcas. They used them for food and the blubber for warmth. I mean, you can make things out of their coats. And it's estimated that the rest of them died of starvation as they were trapped in the Polynya. So limited food sources. Sad. Yeah. So that was in 1955, and that man unfortunately did die. The next one...
It's kind of unfortunate, but you got to heed the warning of the natives, right? If people tell you not to go somewhere in the water because something is dangerous there, please don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's a reason.
The next one was actually before it. It was in the early 1910s. So the Terra Nova expedition claimed that orcas had attempted to surround and flip over a little floating iceberg that held the expedition's photographer and his sled and slag dogs. So they recorded that the orcas were swimming around it, attempting to flip it. Whether or not they were playing or had intentions to eat them, we'll never know, because fortunately for them, they did not die.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's crazy that it was happening back in the early 1910s. That's happening right now with, like, the orcas also going after, you know, smaller vessels, smaller sea vessels. Mm-hmm. So orcas have been on it for a while. They've been on it. They said, no way.
Most recently was September 9th, 1972. So Hans Kretschmer, he was a Californian surfer. He was surfing at Point Sur, and he was actually bitten by an orca, one of the Pacific orcas. Yep. It is fairly well documented that he is the only instance of a wild orca biting a human, other than the Inuit man who died in 1955. As you can imagine, orcas are pretty large, and his wound required 100 stitches, but he did survive. So technically not a death, but an orca-human encounter.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that only, especially before we transition into the next part.
There's really only been 3 documented encounters.
Yeah, orcas are honestly quite, I'm not going to say tame in the water, like or in the wild, but I would say your risk of getting attacked by one in the water naturally is lower than, honestly, at this point, I would say the leopard seal.
Yeah.
At least in the wild.
Yeah.
If it was the leopard seal or the orca, I think I would swim towards the orca more than the leopard seal.
Yep. So those were documented cases of the wild, but a whole different story, and perhaps more deadly, are captive orcas. Mm-hmm. So orcas that live in SeaWorld, Sea Park. We're going to talk about one specifically. His name is Tilikum. So he started out in a park in Canada. It was called Sealand Pacific Park. And February 20th, 1991, a 21-year-old Sealand intern named Kelty Byrne.
I would say Byrne.
She was an intern and she was on shift. She slipped into the orca pool and flipped out. None of the orcas were near her at the moment, but the commotion of her screaming and slashing, it was really awful. But the article quoted that she knew she was going to die instantly. She yelled to whoever was nearby and she said, "I don't want to die." Mm-hmm. So she slipped and fell into the pool. The commotion of a screaming and
like
yelling,
a panicked fish or like a panicked victim almost to them.
The orcas definitely showed some stimulation. They were immediately excited, and Tilikum got a hold of her and pulled her underwater. So she did drown, and that was technically Tilikum's first killing. Dun, dun, dun. Mm-hmm. One of many. Mm-hmm. And this is also about when Blackfish came out. That is a documentary on captive orcas, specifically on SeaWorld, Sealand, things like that. So they interviewed Steve Huxter, which was the head trainer for the Sealand Pacific in Canada. And he was quoted to say that he had never met a more interactive, energetic, and stimulated orca in his life.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't know if he was foretelling Tilikum's death rampage.
Interactive, energetic. Those are all like positive descriptions of a whale that is captive and killing a very young intern, which R.I.P. Kelty, that
is a horrible way to go.
That is
especially
horrible.
If she knew she was going to die.
How scary. Could you imagine like falling into the pool knowing damn well
Something's going to come at you.
Yes,
An
that there are
orca.
3 orcas in the water, and you can't do anything. Like, you are at their mercy at that point. So the fear in that, her heart, it hurts mine, essentially, to talk about that one.
R.I.P.
R.I.p.
Kelty
R.I.p. Kelty Burn.
So sometime later, Tilikum was sold to SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida.
Love that.
So now we're switching to Florida. July 6th, 1999. So 8 years later, Daniel Dukes was a 27-year-old SeaWorld employee. No, I'm sorry. He was homeless.
Yeah, I was about to say, this was a case where he wasn't...
Yes, so he stayed after hours. He had been, a known name in the park. They always knew that he hung around. He wasn't necessarily a danger to anyone, but he's in the park. He is obviously homeless, and he stays there all day, every day. So one day, he hid and avoided cameras until the park was closed. So after hours, he hopped into the pool with Tilikum the orca. They say he didn't have malintentions towards the orca. It was more like of a curious, just wanting to swim with the orcas.
I mean, because everybody wants to, right? Like,
Sure, I mean, it's like when you swim with the dolphins, you take your little family portrait.
or like being with the manatees, stuff like that.
Dukes hops into the orca pool, and like I said, cameras did not somehow capture this whole event. They did not have cameras pointing at Tilikum's tank.
Sus.
Very sus.
Very sus.
But the next morning, when workers arrived early in the morning, they found Duke's severely mutilated body draped over Tilikum's back as he swam laps around the pool.
Like, he's proud of it.
Parading Daniel Duke's dead body.
He's like, look what I did.
Yup, again, so because there were no cameras, there was not really any way to prove that Dukes did not have malintentions towards the orca, plus he was trespassing and not supposed to be there anyways. No charges were filed towards SeaWorld, and the case was kind of closed due to the man's homeless nature, which is still so awful.
Very sad, yeah. I mean, just because he's, unsheltered doesn't mean that people don't care about him. So, gotta thank SeaWorld for getting rid of the tapes, and I don't know, who can say if they did their due diligence or not, right? Because
I don't know.
It's such a sticky situation.
That was
sad.
Tilikum's second recorded killing. And his last killing before he was taken off of the public for obvious reasons was about 11 years later, February 24th, 2010. We're still in Orlando, Florida, SeaWorld. Don Branshaw.
Yeah, Branshaw, I think.
Don Branshaw was 40 years old, and he was also a victim to Tilikum. So during a Dine with Shamu private dinner with after-hour guests, Branshaw was massaging the orca, which was a common kind of post-show. He was talking to, or she, Dawn, was talking to the audience, kind of petting Tilikum while he kind of posed. They're not sure why, but he got frustrated with Branshaw and, it's a her.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was about to say. Dawn is a girl.
Tilikum pulled her ponytail, which actually immediately scalped Branshaw. Awful. Immediately scalped her because of the force that he pulled her ponytail as he was standing, or she was standing on the platform.
Jeez.
Naturally, her body fell backwards into the water, where Tilikum bit her arm and dragged her to the bottom of the pool. And guests from the dinner were interviewed, and they all gave their testimonies. So they claimed that they saw her, her body was being slapped against the bottom of the concrete pool.
Whammed.
Just whammed.
I can almost picture the concrete sound in my head as she's getting thwopped. Oh, that's horrifying.
Yeah. I'm not sure if she died due to... She might have passed out after being scalped. I really hope so.
I hope
for her sake.
Yeah, I hope she went into
She also could have drowned, or it could have been blunt force trauma.
Could have been, yeah. I pray for her sake that the minute they pulled her underwater, either the scalping did it, or she swallowed water and was done immediately. That would be my hope for Miss Dawn, because that's... I mean, you're giving back to nature, but at what cost, Like, that's scary.
So that
Not
was
for me.
Tilikum's third and final killing before he was removed for the public. Obvious reasons. Don't know why we didn't do that after the first or the second.
I don't know why it took 3.
But it only took a year and 1 month for him to be returned to the show. So
would he be considered a serial killer? Technically?
you know, honestly, I
By
don't know
the
what the
FBI?
cutoff is.
I think it's 3.
I
Or
don't
no,
know.
I think they've changed it to 2.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, I guess he would be considered a serial killer.
So he was placed back on public viewing in 2011, and he lived for another 6 years, where Tilikum died on January 6, 2017, due to bacterial pneumonia. Also, fun fact, he fathered 21 other orcas while being in SeaWorld.
So we have 21 other interactive, energetic, stimulated
21 Tilikum Juniors to wreak havoc on the public.
Keep them in captivity, you know, because,
Oh.
I mean, they are clearly more dangerous in the wild than
Well,
in captivity.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the end of Tilikum's reign.
Sad.
In the sister park to SeaWorld, Loro Parque, which is in the Canary Islands in Spain, Alexis Martinez, she was 29 years old.
All of them are so young,
I
except
know.
for Dawn.
I mean, she was 40. Martinez died during a Christmas Eve special training. She was standing on, I think she was in the pool swimming. She was trying to make her way towards the exit platform where Keto, the orca, got in her way. He was frustrated during the training and blocked her access to the exit dock, where he bit her, dragged her to the bottom of the pool, and also repeatedly slammed her body against the bottom concrete, where she died.
It just gives me, like, ragdoll vibes, you know? Like when
Awful.
you were a kid and or I don't know,
It's like when your dog has a toy and it's just left, right, just
thrashing
swinging
it
that.
around, yeah.
Awful.
Well, and for a lot of these, or I guess not the specific ones we talked about, but there are a lot more other captive orca injuries,
Yes.
incidences, and we'll post a link to one that has like a whole bunch of videos, and the videos aren't gruesome really, and a lot of them are very poor quality because they're from far away, but you can see a change in behavior, and you know, if you know much about animal behavior, just you know anything about orcas, then you know that that's not supposed to be happening. And it's humbling, if anything, to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So that was the end of the danger zone.
Cool.
Orcas definitely are something to steer away from. So yeah, we've seen them in the wild, in the captive. Either way, they definitely seem to have a temper, or they just get really excited, really stimulated, and I'm not sure if they know that we don't know how to swim underwater, so I don't really know if it's intentional. Obviously, if they're trying to ragdoll slam them into the bottom of the pool, that seems a bit more intentional.
I mean, I feel like it's like a dog that doesn't know its own strength in a sort of sense. You know, I mean, who's listening, you know, that has a big dog that thinks it's 10 pounds, right? And, you know, it accidentally shows its power, and you're like, oh, shit, that's humbling. Now imagine that.
Right.
But an orca, and you're not on land, you're in water.
Ooh, yeah.
But if they, you know, view you, not even as, like, prey, but if they view you as, like, a play animal or, like...
Playmate.
I mean, let alone equal, right? If it views you as another orca, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to view you as a human. But cool. Well, that's about all that we have for you today. We have talked about our 3 freaky deakies, the orca, the leopard seal, and the colossal squid.
From the egg and the chicken both, thank you for joining us today. We embarked into our journey into the Antarctic waters. I think we had some pretty good stories to tell.
Yeah, definitely.
Like she mentioned, we're going to drop a couple links and post on Instagram.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, comments, or another freaky fauna that you want us to cover on future episodes, you can always message us on Insta or send us an email at info@freakyfaunafiles.com.
Next time, join us as we uncover those with the power of regeneration. You lose a limb? No problem.
No problem.
No problem at all. And remember, it's best to stay out of the danger zone.
Danger zone.
Stay freaky.
Stay freaky. Bye, guys.
Bye. All right.